longevity is the cherished dream of the human race. Along with unattainable immortality, it confidently tops the list of desires. Not everyone wants to stay in this world for centuries. The life, or rather non-life, of the most famous vampire named Dracula was eternal, but bleak and lonely. "Loneliness will sit over our roofs with brooding wings," said Dr. John Seward about his undead enemy. But nevertheless, the instinct of self-preservation makes the majority of beings on the planet passionately desire, if not everlasting, but at least a very long life. Why are we unable to realize our dreams while the inhabitants of past eras did it? What barriers prevent most people from crossing the cherished centennial Rubicon? Are there any examples in history, besides unsubstantiated biblical legends, when the inhabitants of the earth lived for a century and a half or more? Let's try to answer these and many other questions right now.
First in outer space.
Compared to the total world population, the number of long livers is minuscule and estimated in the dozens. But still, there are many such cases. Who were these famous elders? And are there any patterns that reveal us the secret of their longevity? The first really documented case was in China. Greet Li Qingyuan, a man who lived 256 years, although there is no one to actually confirm the date of his birth. The record holder himself claimed that he was born in 1735, but some historians are sure that the date is wrong. In fact, Li was born in 1677. It is not known who is right, but Mr. Qingyuan died in 1933 and remained in history as a man who lived longer than anyone else. What if we try to find a connection between the fates of famous long livers? For example, perhaps most of the elders led a decent lifestyle, without superfluity and bad habits. Let's say at once, such attempts will fail. Take, for example, Javier Pereira. When the authorities came to the 147-year-old man with a request to authorize the issue of a postage stamp with his portrait, the Colombian agreed. But on one condition, he asked to inscribe the phrase, at the bottom, "I drink and smoke." Javier died at the age of 169. His Soviet counterpart in age, Shirali Muslimov, was also not a teetotaler and was not on any special diet, but it did not prevent him from crossing the 168-year mark. It is fair to say that some elders still adhered to a relatively correct lifestyle, avoided overeating, and most importantly, did not get nervous over nothing. The above examples are unofficial. The first case, recorded in the Guinness Book of Records, is 122-year-old Frenchwoman Jeanne Calment, and the oldest man in the world is 120-year-old Japanese teacher Shigechio Izumi. So, longevity is possible. What prevents everyone from crossing the century mark? Let's take a look at physiology. Although getting ahead of ourselves, we will say that it is not paramount in this matter. Aging is a gradual decline in the functions of a living organism. While we're young, the damage appearing at the cellular level is almost imperceptible, but as time goes on, it accumulates. Then there is a critical breakdown of the mechanism, and its work stops forever. The difference between organic life and engineered machines is that our molecules are capable of self-regeneration. Unfortunately, over time, too many problems accumulate, and it is no longer possible to solve them with the body's natural painkillers. What is the essence of decline, and how can it be stopped? Biologists owe humanity a lot because they have not yet bothered to find out the reason why seemingly decent organs fail so quickly. Scientists collectively agree to consider it normal wear and tear and convince society that birth and death are inevitably offered in one package. On the one hand, there is a certain logic in that. Why is death necessary? Correctly, to optimize evolutionary development and to implement the slogan, The young are always welcome. Biologists believe that death is programmed in the human genome, and even invented a term for it, phenoptosis. As usual, rodents are cited as an example. You can put them in ideal conditions, prevent and treat any disease, but they will still die after the time that nature has given them. There is no human or animal that has learned to bypass the deadly program. There are exceptions, though few. One creature on Earth is completely devoid of the aging gene and lives several times longer than the representative of his species. This is the legendary knackered mole rat. Rodent is supposed to die in 2 to 3 years, but individuals live to 35. In this case, mole rats to the end retain childish features and are completely insensitive to pain, even to burns with sulfuric acid. And what is the situation with humans? Examples of long livers prove that a person can, if not defeat death, then significantly delay it. There is another, purely psychological nuance, which we promised to tell you about at the beginning of the video. It should not be discounted when discussing the question of prolonging human life. Our subconscious mind is a complex mechanism that can not only exhaust us, but also stimulate the body to longevity. You will say, nonsense. A person lives as long as his physical condition allows. And you will be right, but only partially. From childhood, society lays down a certain program, a kind of stereotype prescribing permissible time limits of the life cycle in the subconsciousness of each person. Social norms have been established, indicating that after the age of 60, citizens have a period of attained age. The phrase sounds monstrous, but people are highly suggestible creatures, and such statements are inevitably stored in the far corners of the mind to appear on occasion and reproachfully point to the calendar. How to stop the mechanism of self-destruction imposed by society? The task of a person who has realized this is to stay in the saddle as long as possible. Move, lead an active lifestyle, pump yourself up intellectually, conduct socially significant activities, etc. If you ignore these tips and settle down in a rocking chair when you reach retirement age, you risk to fall out of the mainstream instantly, get a bouquet of various diseases, become senile, and successfully complete the phenoptosis program. By the way, the only similar aspect in the biographies of the previously named long livers is the following. They worked until their last days. Qing Yuan successfully treated with herbal teas, Muslimov shepherded sheep, and Izumi taught children, and his pedagogical experience was more than a century. It is proved that if a pensioner chooses a passive way of life, the aimlessness of existence brings a person to the grave before any disease. It turns out that the secret of longevity is in continuous development. Only in this case, you will break the imposed algorithm. Up to 18, institute. Up to 25, work. Up to 35, family and children. Up to 60, grandchildren. And further, it turns out that on the road of life, speed modes 80, 90, 100 are absent. If you choose not vegetative but conscious existence, with time, the regeneration of the organism is guaranteed to start and renew it at the cellular level, respectively, prolonging the years of full life. Therefore, break the system. Do not follow the matrix. Discard unnecessary standards. Do not ignore the upgrade of the brain center. And long years of exciting earthly journey await you. By the way, in terms of intellectual development, Hubble Channel will gladly help you. Give us likes and press the bell, so you won't miss the next important big thing.